I'm going to talk about database normalization, and in particular, I want to explain how we can get a database into first normal form. Now, to be in first normal form, a database needs to have data that are atomic, so that is to say you can't break the data down into smaller units. Secondly, a normalized database in first normal form needs to have no repeating attributes or columns in the table. Each row must only have one value, including null value, and each record or row needs to have a unique identifier. So let's have a look at this example here of a customer database. We've got a customer ID, we've got the name of the customer, we've got telephone numbers of the customer. This is not normalized, and it's not normalized for a number of reasons. First of all, you can see how the telephone numbers are grouped together. So some customers have more than one telephone number, so those need to be separated out. The additional issue is that the name of the customer can be split further into first name and last name, so the data there are not atomized. Now, what we could do is we could rearrange our database such that we've split the first name and last name, so now those are now two different attributes. So that's now atomized, the first name, last name, they're fully atomized. So we're happy with that, but we're not so happy with what's going on with the telephone numbers here. We've got the situation where we've got three attributes for a telephone number, but they're repeating attributes. So again, that is not meeting first normal form requirements. And if you think logically how this works, well, first of all, you can have a lot of null situations where you have no data. For example, if you only have one telephone number for a customer, the remaining two telephone numbers are not gonna have values for. On the other hand, what happens in a scenario where a customer has more than three telephone numbers? Then we've got a bit of a problem. We're going to have to rearrange and re-establish our database. So we've now put our table in first normal form. So let's explain why this is in first normal form. So first of all, the data are atomized, and we've removed the repeating groups of those telephone numbers. So we split the first name and the surname of our customer, and our telephone numbers now have been separated out so they have a separate record for each of those telephone numbers. We can also now use the telephone number itself as the unique identifier, so it meets that criteria. Even though the data is in first normal form, we do now still have redundant data. That is to say, we have repeating names of our customers. So we have in fact ended up creating the amount of data we have, but nevertheless, we are still in first normal form, even though often when we try to normalize database, we're trying to reduce the amount of data that we have. But in this simple example, we've ended up doing the opposite and in fact increasing the size of our database in terms of the content that we have in it. I want to look at a second example because in succeeding videos, what I want to do is I want to go through the process from going from first to second to third normal form. So I'm going to use this database now, which is a little bit more complex, so that we can demonstrate those further normalizations. So let's show how we can get this table into first normal form. So if we look at this, we can see in our course attribute, we've got two values there. We've got a course code and we've got the name of the course. So again, the data are not atomized there, so we need to split that up. We've also got the situation where for each student we have more than one course, we have more than one teacher and their corresponding phone number of the teacher against the student name. So again, we've got repeating groups. So let's now put this into first normal form, and we can see here we now have our table that has what we call a composite primary key. So that is to say we need to have two attributes to make up the full primary key, and that is the student ID and the course code. We now have a record for every single course for every single student. Essentially, that's what we're saying. And against that, then we have the teacher and the teacher details, including their phone number. So that now has put that into first normal form, and in subsequent videos now we're going to look to put that into second normal form and third normal form.